So it's a great point that we've been talking about in recent videos, where we've been saying the history that goes behind this kit, because if we'd have stuck to the one season approach, this would not be Invincible now.
Hi everybody, welcome to the channel. Today we are going to be looking at the Arsenal Invincibles kit, both the original one designed by my glamorous assistant Craig here during his time in Nike. So we're going to compare and contrast. We're going to look at these as a pair of shirts in the modern era, and then we're going to look at kind of how they stack up against the originals, or how the originals stack up against the modern version, might be the way that it plays out. Also be interesting to hear from Craig about what went into designing these shirts, which obviously have gone down in not just Arsenal history but Premier League history. So where do you want to start? Why don't we start with the older ones, and you can talk us through how Arsenal came to be wearing red and white for the second season in a row in that kit, and then where the yellow one came from as well.
Yeah, no worries. Well, first and foremost, I think out of all the kits that I've designed, these are two that are really close to my heart. But obviously, when we designed the Arsenal kit, we had no idea that they were going to go Invincible. Yeah. We obviously knew they were a terrific side, but so was Man United at the time as well. And there was those infamous battles that they used to have. And when we designed this, it was off the back of the World Cup 2002 kits. So the templates are very similar, albeit we changed it up a little bit for Arsenal. We simplified it down a little bit. But the same principles were the same, so it was still the cool motion. It still had the Toure woven fabric, which is very different to fabrics that most of the teams were using in those days, and certainly what we're now gone back to. But in actual fact, when we designed this, the away kit was actually a navy blue kit with like a pinstripe through it, which Matt Sarden, who is now the creative director at Nike Football, he was the one that did it, and he's actually an Arsenal fan, so he was absolutely over the moon that he was doing the graphics for it. So that was the original away kit. And then what we did is, I remember we went back the following season, and at those days, the home kit lasted 2 seasons. Yep. So the memories that went behind this was great. So it's a great point that we've been talking about in recent videos, where we've been saying the history that goes behind this kit, because if we'd have stuck to the one season approach, this would not be Invincible now. Yep. It only became Invincible the second season. And by that time, we'd moved on from the away kit because we were rotating the away kits. So the away kit actually, which was the blue one, went to their third kit.
So it still had 2 years.
Exactly.
On pitch.
And then the yellow one came in, which was the next generation of the cool motion kits, which is why you're now seeing we played around with this pivot armhole, different paneling details, but the principle was the same fabric, but we'd moved the fabric on by then, and we'd put the pinstripes through it, which was kind of reminiscent of that kind of tailoring kind of approach where you've got... Would this
have been the same time that Manchester United had the black shirt that had got the houndstooth?
That's right.
As well?
That's exactly right, yeah. And it's funny because, you know, and I'll be brutally honest, I talk a lot about making sure it's reminiscent of something of the club and so on and so forth. We had a lot of limitations with this fabric, although we felt the fabric was great, but there wasn't an awful lot we could do with it. So we kind of got standard, pinstripes and dog tooths and horizontal stripes and stuff, but we couldn't really do too much with it. But with this particular kit, there was also a detail that we put on the inside of the neckline, which was this idea where we're trying to make the garments look as beautiful from the inside than they are to the outside. Yeah. And that kind of started a lot of that conversation around where Nike then moved on to putting, logos on the insides of the badges and stuff. And look, that just shows where, if that was nowadays, we'd probably be slating that for the threads that were on there. So we all did it.
But that was 20 years ago.
Yeah, well, you can be forgiven, but I don't know. If you want to learn how to design kits like me and Rob have done over the years, please sign up to Spark Design Academy, and we'll take you through those 7 stages of design, from concept all the way through to final kits. Sign up now, get involved, change your career. Anyway, so But there's an interesting story with this one, because I remember we went down and we were presenting to David Dean and the board of directors at Arsenal, and we kind of knew that we had the home jersey done and dusted. It was really about the away kit, and this was originally grey, but it was like a really interesting, like almost like a metallic grey, if you like. And we were really feeling quite confident about it, and we went in and presented it. So what tends to happen when you're presenting these kits to board members or the associations and stuff, you go in there with at least 2 or 3 options.
Yep.
So there was a couple of different options on the grey one with different necklines and things. And then this was actually the backup plan.
Okay.
And I remember when we were presenting it, and the meeting had gone really well, and then I got this grey uniform out, and I could just see the colour in David Dean's face just draining out, and I was like,
He went grey like the shirt.
yeah. So this isn't going very well. So quickly we just said, no, rubbish, don't like it, what else have you got? And then we brought this out, and he just said, that's it. And what we did is we really brightened it up. So I think it was the FA Cup final in the 70s where Charlie George had won in a yellow kit, if I'm not mistaken. It had the blue around the neckline, and that's what this paid homage to. So although it was a backup plan, it was paying homage to those, and he absolutely loved it. He loved the modern interpretation of the neckline, and those are the 2 kits that ultimately went Invincible. And yeah, I've definitely got a soft spot for them. But it's funny because when we now fast forward to the modern ones, and everybody's telling me that these are paying homage to these, there's not a huge amount that really relates back to the kits. You know, yes, there's the white raglan sleeve, which, fine, I get that. And you would argue there's taping details on it.
I think the elastic around the neckline was quite a unique feature on those.
Yeah,
up on here.
Yeah, definitely. And that's actually quite a nice execution of that.
Yeah.
Whereas, you know, mine was, okay, it's not too bad, but I would say that's got a little bit more give.
Yeah.
So there's definitely stuff on the modern kits that if I was to design them again, you know, like I definitely prefer the way the sponsor logos have gone, where they're really, really flat and almost you hardly feel them. Definitely the badges and the, you know, the heat transfers and stuff that we're now getting on the modern kits is definitely moved on. Where I would say the old kit, or certainly the kits that I was involved in, I just feel that the fabric innovation has not moved on that much. With all of the brands, you know, we're basically still using recycled polyester, which is great, but there's just so many other things out there, you know, other fabrications, other types of materials and stuff that are equally as good for the environment, which we could be looking at. So I'd be encouraging brands to look at what's the next thing other than plastic bottles, you know. But yeah, I quite like the interpretation, but gotta be honest, I prefer mine.
Completely unbiased opinion.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I think we're looking at this as a kit, and I've got the replica here. It's got the kind of lightning effect detail, which was
goes back
very
to the
Nike and Arsenal around that sort of era, the late 90s.
Definitely. It kind of reminds us of what I would expect to see Ian Wright in.
Yeah, that's right. Which I can't rightly remember if that was a Nike or an Adidas.
It was a Nike
shirt. It was
kit.
a Nike shirt. So it's interesting that Adidas as a brand who wouldn't normally lean back into kind of other brands' work. I know with the 20-year anniversary of something as incredible as that, they have to kind of do something to commemorate it. But I feel like there could have been something a bit different in terms of how they approached the design. I think even just having this down the side, albeit they got it wrong on the authentic jersey, as you may have seen. So it details most of the results from the Invincibles season. It was supposed to be all of them, which is a really nice touch. But yeah, I just wonder if there are some things that could it have been more forward-looking. I mean, if they were to go Invincible again this season in it, well, then what? You know, what do you look at in 20 years' time?
Yeah, I can't see them going invincible. Like,
You reckon?
Nah, no chance.
Look at these football kits. You know you can do better. We know that you can do better than that. We've spent 25 years each in the industry to help give you a pathway into it much quicker than the ordinary person. All you have to do is go to sparkdesignacademy.com, sign up today, and you can begin your first steps towards being a professional football kit designer.
What I would say, so I get asked a lot of questions of, well, how would you have designed a particular kit on a particular season? Knowing Adidas how we know them, there's a multitude of different ways they could have approached this. If it was me that was doing this, I actually wouldn't have designed a kit for them to play in that pays homage back to this. There's maybe a couple of elements that I would have brought in, but what I would have done is, knowing that they've got the Trefoil logo, I personally would have done homage to this, but used the Trefoil logo and just had a real spin off of it where we're paying homage to it, and I'd be a little closer to it as well, but almost kind of recognise that it was more of a, you know, if you think of Adidas Originals and you think of historic, it kind of could have fell in that world a little bit. Or could they have even done the 20th anniversary with the Trefoil on, for example? So I think for me it would have just been an opportunity where they could have maybe played around with it a little bit more and been a little bit more futuristic, I'd say, you know, be a little bit more of a modern classic, which this is lovely, don't get me wrong. I actually really quite like this kit, and as an Arsenal fan, I'd be really quite pleased with the new shirt. But I just think it could have pushed it a little bit further.
Yeah.
I really do. Anything that's like a 20th anniversary for me is just, you've got to give it a little bit more of a push. And this, as we know, is effectively the template from World Cup.
Yeah.
So, yeah, not bad. But
yeah. Not bad, but could have been something so much more exciting. Because
I think so.
That's what was interesting about the team that were invincible. The kit, obviously, itself was very innovative of the era, but so were Arsene Wenger's methods.
Yeah.
And so the whole thing was, the ethos of it was innovation, newness, new ideas.
Yeah.
So for me, I would always rather take that as the inspiration rather than the output of that way of thinking as the inspiration.
And it's a good point, actually, Rob, because you know, towards the latter end of his time at Arsenal, Wenger got, you know, quite a lot of criticism, and I guess to some extent quite rightly so. You know, they needed to move on. It was a little bit like Ferguson at Man United, although he didn't get hounded out, but those characters were so pivotal of that era. And having worked with both of them, I mean, it was an absolute joy. You know, certainly I always remember my first ever meeting with Arsene Wenger. I was with a lady called Tina Grace, who helped me do the Cool Motion concept, and she was very much the backbone to that. You know, all the research and stuff was Tina's world, if you like. And I always remember there was the two of her, and it was the first time I'd ever met a football star, if you like, at that level. And I was so eager to shake his hand. I got up first to shake his hand. He just brushed us to one side and grabbed Tina's hand. And I was like, right, okay. It made me feel really...
Wisely so. So you can wipe that sweaty palm before you shake
exactly. But he was absolutely superb, really supported innovation and all the stuff we were doing around the fabrics, peripheral vision, all that sort of stuff. It was just a joy. It was a great time to be in the industry, because it was all about innovation. How do we push the athletes, keep pushing the athletes? And it was great. And it was one of those where I keep saying, I sometimes feel we've lost that a little bit in the brands. We're missing some of that innovation.
It's true.
So yeah, but like I said, it was an absolute honour to be able to design your Arsenal kits, and I'll forever be grateful to Nike for allowing us to do them.
And to those players that went unbeaten.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, incredible.
You couldn't have done it without them, but they couldn't have done it without you, mate.
Well, let's hope so.
So if you are a concept designer, you're sitting at home thinking, well, you know, I could have done this differently, could have done it better. I love the idea of finding out more about the design process. Why don't you come and sign up at sparkdesignacademy.com, because right there you'll be able to do a course on the 7 stages of kit design, from concept to reality. and that can be your first steps on the way towards perhaps being the next Ian Wright of design, somebody who's gone completely undiscovered and suddenly their talent and potential is unleashed. Also, we would love to see you on our Patreon channel. So across there, you'll be able to discuss with fellow designers and lovers of design and Craig and myself. So once a month on the Patreon, you'll be able to have a conversation directly with us, ask us questions about kits of the past and the present, and anything else to do with design that you want to discuss. So thanks so much for tuning in today. We hope you've enjoyed the video. If you have, like, subscribe, tell all your friends and family, and until the next time, take care and we'll see you soon.
Come on, you gooners, tell us what you think, what you really think. See you later.
Bye.
Didn't really need that, didn't we?
Not really, but it's fine.
But anyway, it's done now.
Go on, you gooners.